This is the Rlaarlo JK07 Pro. It's their latest 1/7 scale RC crawler, and it is so jam-packed with features, I can't believe it's even real. Oh boy, let's take a look at it. There are 4 other people in the world who have received what's in this box ahead of the launch of the Rlaarlo JK07 Pro, which is the successor to their MK07 and MK07 Pro, being a 1/7 scale RC crawler. Now this is a very special machine, and not just because it's got working scale awning and rooftop camper. It comes in brushed and brushless, and I've got the brushless version, and I couldn't be happier to share it with you. Let's turn it around and put the pretty stuff on this side. A 1/7 scale RC crawler in 30 seconds or less. 4-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, 2-speed, independent front and rear locking differentials, complete light system, completely adjustable, working wipers, full interior, working side awning, working rooftop camper, furniture that fits inside, 2 collapsing chairs and a table, and it all sits on a massive 6mm CNC, hugely stiff chassis with the same wheelbase, I kid you not, as the SCX6. Even the brushed version of this thing would be an absolute monster. I'm filming this on the table after cleaning it up. It's almost not recognizable in how much is cleaned, except that I've damaged 2 little things, and I'll get to the damage later. It's very minor, but it's a predictable and understandable damage. This is a very special machine. I've been into crawling for decades at this point, and my channel is actually built on the back of crawling. I like fast stuff as well. I like bashing, which is probably just as well because we do a bit of that here too. But this is a special machine. It's not the most capable machine that I'll have ever had on camera. It's not the biggest machine, but gee, it gets close. Let me just do some size comparisons for you. We'll start with the big boy, because this is the obvious question that I had. Maybe you do too. Axial SCX6, 2-speed, full-time 4-wheel drive, full-time lockers, and basic front and rear running lights, that's it. So as far as electronic features go, the Rlaarlo has this thing absolutely pipped at the post. The mass of these cars is noticeably different, although I've added weight to this thing. Out of the box, they're probably closer, but the SCX6 will still be heavier, I think. Yeah, the wheelbase is actually slightly longer on the Rlaarlo, believe it or not. So if you've got mates that run the SCX6 and you're thinking of one of these to buy, I think this will be more capable, but as an all-rounder, I think this actually might have it beaten. Front wheels are now aligned. Yeah, the back of this thing, like the body and the wheelbase, is longer on the Rlaarlo. These are both hefty cars. Now, being a 1/6 scale versus a 1/7 scale means your interior and your driver are noticeably different, but I do think this could run with that. This will be more capable though, and I stress that. Bigger wheels make a difference. It's also a torquier system, but this is actually faster. And they both have censored or FOC control, something like it. So they're both very capable when they're going slowly. Now, a little bit more context for you. The rear wheels are aligned for all 3. 10 scale SCX-10 Gladiator, 8 scale Cross RC Emo X, and of course the 7th scale Rlaarlo. Now there's a much bigger apparent difference between 1/8 and 1/7, and the 1/7 and the 1/6 we just looked at. And I've chosen these bodies to show you in particular because they're all modeled off rough with the same kind of car, this being a shorter version though. When I first saw this, I thought, gee whiz, it's really similar to that. But then I think it's also because they've very closely tried to recreate the Gladiator without any branding. It's actually a polycarbonate body, but it's one of those very detailed ones. In fact, all 3 of these are, with their interiors and their light systems and whatnot. Again, the axial, just like the SCX6, is the most basic of these guys. The Cross RC being nicer, you still have lockers front and rear and high and low speed, but you don't have selectable rear-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive and front-wheel drive. Bit of a spoiler for this video because there's a bit of length to it. I dismissed front-wheel drive when I first read it and thought, that's just like when, you know, something like the RGT says, oh look, it's got front-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive. I'm like, well, that's just part of dig. There's no dig on this. And here's the spoiler, I actually found front-wheel drive useful when I had this out on the rocks. Yes, it's a rock crawler, but it's a trailing vehicle is what I mean. One comment I get from people semi-regularly is, oh, you shouldn't be calling this a crawler or testing something like this on your 6 problem course. It's a trailing rig. I don't care. I'm looking to know how capable it is, and that's always, I mean, I want to be useful to you guys. Don't you want to know how capable something is? You're going to drop your hard-earned on it. I mean, in Australia right now, this thing's nearly $1,000 if you can still get it. This thing's actually the cheapest of the 3 here, believe it or not. And the Rlaarlo is, I mean, is not cheap, the Pro version, but you get what you pay for, right? Now, it comes with a Dumbo RC radio. I'll show you this when I'm out in the field. I did have some camera issues when I was out there, so I will start by saying we speed tested this thing, and I ran it for most of my filming on a 4S brick, like a big boy, big 4S brick. And my top speed on semi-flat bumpy grass was 29 kilometers per hour, and that was tested on my Sky RC GPS unit. Time for a speed test. We have a 7,000 milliamp hour 4S battery connected. This is actually the first time I've powered it up. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, we've got our GPS analyzer. Get that powered up. Let it start getting some satellites. And we'll put this together. See what the max speed is in low range. Stop. Read, and our max speed is 16 kilometers an hour in low speed on 4S. So we didn't get speed on 2S before, so we're on 3S. So this is top speed on 3S. Let's see what we can do. It's going to be slower than it was on 4S, probably by about 20%. Body roll. See the front, watch the front shudder as the drag brake works. Oh, and I need to mention also there's an app that I haven't downloaded. I need to get to that. Watch the front axles. They shudder under braking. All right, stop. And we had, so 22, and we had a max of 29 km/h on 4S. Now we're just going to try low speed just to see what that is. This is purely out of interest. Go back, start. This is top speed in low gear on 3S. That's 12 volts, probably on about 12.4 volts now. Yeah. All right, and it's probably going to be something like 14. Let's have a read. 12, there you go. So now we can compare that. It comes with a 10-channel radio, and I'll demonstrate this on camera. Let me show you everything. 3-position switch, front wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, rear wheel drive. High and low is here. I love that there are lights even in the fronts here, and in the mirrors as well. Bottom one is wipers. These top buttons will be the lockers. We're going to leave them unlocked so the lights are on when they're unlocked. This is standard for Dumbo RC. Now the thing that my little demo there didn't tell you about were channel 5 and 6, these dials. The manual says they're reserve, which I'm pretty sure means free. So you might actually have a front and rear winch option here if you wanted, or possibly something to do with the sound machine. The ESS Duo would be a good match for this car if you wanted sound. You've got your reversing channel switches at the bottom and just basic trim and center points for throttle and steering. But it's hard not to have a bit of a laugh with this car. Actually, it's top heavy clearly, but it moves so beautifully. You can see the axles shuddering a bit under drag brake as well. So stable. I think a shorter wheelbase car might have actually rolled that last one. Very nice. I'm getting this out of my system up here so I don't wreck it down on the rocks. Beautiful. Absolutely stunning car. This is the dream, guys. Unlocked and in rear wheel drive only. Gosh, it's stable. It's so stable. I can't believe how stable it is. It's very impressive. A long wheelbase car, my goodness. It's unbelievably stable. So this actually reminds me of the desert trucks in how watching it is it's just a wonderful thing to watch. Just to watch it move. Remember, unlocked and just in rear wheel drive here. What a stunning piece of art this is. Oh, I love it. This is one of 5 in the world, this beautiful little car at the moment. I've actually gotten it early from Rlaarlo. They've entrusted me with their flagship model. This has a 4282 motor, would you believe? 4282. 82 being the length of the thing. My goodness. Watch how this moves. It's just stunning. So we're in rear wheel drive, unlocked. And in low gear, of course. The only thing, like I'm nitpicking now, the only thing I'd like is a sway bar on the rear, which may or may not help, but I think it might actually assist with stability at speed. But if you're buying this because it's beautiful. This is a beautiful premium thing. And you can see the love that's gone into it, the care that's gone into its design. Now again, we're unlocked and in 2-wheel drive, and it's rear wheel drive at that. So the rears are going to slip as we go down this very steep grade, I suspect. This is fun. So the nice thing about having it at minimal capability right now is you get to enjoy the machine working, and it is working. I don't know that I'll ever use the front wheel drive part, but they've included it because the mechanism's built that way anyway. But having rear wheel drive and 4-wheel drive as an option, oh boy. This is a truly beautiful model. Now the other nice thing about this massive wheelbase is for steep ascents and descents. We saw how stable it was earlier at speed, but the other part for stability is when it's actually trying to do complex, difficult maneuvers. So unlocked and rear wheel only. I adore doing stuff like this because you get to see it minimally, at like minimal capacity. And yet, look what it can do just rear wheel drive. If you've ever taken any kind of car off-road that's not designed to go off-road, you'll be appreciating this. Cars can do a surprisingly great number of things. You can also get them stuck, of course, but there's something to be said for taking inappropriate equipment to out-of-the-way places. I've always liked this. What a stunning car this is. Gosh, it's lovely. This arrived yesterday, and last night I built some furniture. I built furniture that came with this car. Let me show you. So I've got a theory. We're playing with RC cars, but it's actually just an excuse to play with dollies. I didn't bring any dollies. So all I have is furniture and no dolls. I mean, action figures. Yeah, action figures. Who knew toys would be gendered like that? Oh, there I go, demonetizing myself again. All right, so these you have to build. You get 3 of them, and I've only brought 2 because I actually couldn't fit 3 in the thing and have it shut properly. That's okay though. Not complaining, just noting. Look at this, isn't that cool? Yeah, we'll stick him in there. I tried to find a flat camping spot and I didn't do too well, did I? Now, there's another trick up its sleeve. There we go. Oh, this is so cool. Come on, out you come. There we go. Oh, I love it. I love it. This is just like the real thing. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, Rlaarlo, you've outdone yourself. You have outdone yourself. So there you go. You can't tell me that isn't amazing. Well, you can try, but it won't work. There are 2 camps of hobbyists I've come across on YouTube and also face-to-face when it comes to features. One camp says, give me a TRX4 Sport. It's got steering and throttle, that's all I want from it. I might modify it and make it more scale, give it an interior, you know, give it some wheel wells in gold. I'm not saying you're part of that. Add all the lighting and stuff, but I still just want a 2-channel crawler. Keep it simple. That's my bag. Now, nothing wrong with that. That's fine. Matt, if you're watching, sure. I know that's what you're into, and hey, fair enough. Now, on either side of that Sport, which you probably can't see through the back of this car, there's an Evo XL2 that's coming soon, a Cross RC AT4, and 3 TRX4s. All of those guys have front and rear locking diffs, 2-speed transmission, and some of them have dig, some of them, I mean, the ones above have dig, and even disconnectable sway bars on that guy, remotely done. That's the gadgets crowd, or the Nissan Patrol down there. Well, I've had this thing on while I'm filming, and the radio hasn't beeped at me for being on. The car's just happily sitting here. We're still on a 4S battery too, interestingly. Now this is actually the same as how real awnings pack up. Mine does exactly the same thing. It's even all the way down to when you roll it the wrong tension, it doesn't fold up right. This is the realistic experience here. Anyone who's had an awning has undone it a couple of times on occasion to get it rolling straight. That's quite entertaining. There we go. Now, I put the clips in here. They're just little metal jiggers, and they go around the front and then they clip over like a little T-junction. I haven't put it back on before, but that was a piece of cake. So it's just like a little thing that just pops around it. My DJI Mic 2 has had a trip through the washing machine since I filmed this. It was in my shorts pocket. I forgot to put it away, and I'm having some issues with it. So we're going to continue this now with a different mic. I'm sorry for the difference in sound. I've killed my fan. It's kind of hot in here now. It's autumn or fall, but gee whiz, it's hot. We got 36 today, Celsius. Ugh. Now the other people are into all the extra gadgets, and this might be the king of the car that has all the gadgets. It doesn't have a dig, doesn't have a disconnectable sway bar, doesn't even have sway bars, I don't care. Here's something I've always wanted in a crawler. I wanted 4-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive, optional. I wanted to be able to lock the rear and lock the front, and I wanted high range and low range. And that's what this does. This is the first car I've ever had that gets it close to what my 80 series was, which had manually locking hubs at the front. Getting around just in rear-wheel drive open diff is really something special. Then when the going gets tough, you can lock the rear and keep the front undriven, or you can just go to four-wheel drive and then keep driving. And then when the going gets tougher, you can lock rear or front or both. That kind of engagement with the car is really what I enjoy personally. While you get to look and listen to a car like this, your only interaction with the thing is really through a radio. And so a good quality radio matters, and I've talked about this before on the channel. This is just a basic cheap radio, but as far as a cheapie goes these days, Dumbo RC, in my mind, has things really well covered with this current range. As does FlySky. I don't have one to show you here, but the FlySky BS range of all-in-one transmitters are also really, really nice. And for me, it's all in the wheel and in the trigger. And if those two things feel nice, particularly with added extras like where the buttons are, like every finger can do stuff, but if these two feel good, the rest of it is you're pretty much sorted. This feels nice to drive, and it's also quite comfortable, and I did a lot of filming with this car out in the gorge just with one hand. Being able to get around just in rear-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, or even just front-wheel drive when I'm trying to bring the front around, just lock the front and just burst the throttle as I'm steering, and the whole nose just pulls around. And I've showed you that in the video. It's really something else. And there's nothing better than packing up camp for the morning and hitting the trails. Now, I'll demonstrate this front wheel drive thing. If we want to exit there instead of out the way we came, I'm going to pop it into front wheel drive. There you go. Functions kind of like a soft dig. Back into four-wheel drive. We haven't actually used lockers yet, but we might need them here. We'll see. The nice thing about rock is there's a lot of traction. Ah, no lockers needed. You only need them if a wheel is able to spin. Ah, gosh, it's composed. Unlocking is actually quite easy. It involves these little fellas here, and they're just on springs, so you pull them down and you can swivel them around so that they're locked or unlocked to line up with a gap there. This thing's so big I need to be a bit thoughtful about how I do this. The underside of the interior is actually really tidy. It's got a working steering wheel. Mine's been done up too tightly, so instead of steering, what happens is the whole wheel goes rah, rah, rah. It doesn't look very good on this one, but I think this one just had an installation issue. While it's on its side, I'll also mention you've got to be careful of these mirrors because they've got indicators built in. The good news is they actually fold down. I'm just going to fold that down. So even though they've got wires in them, they do actually fold in just like on a real car. I have two minor complaints with this vehicle. That might be the next thing to discuss. The more major of the two complaints is in the rear springs. I've got the preload dialed right up, and I found that the springs were still being overwhelmed by the car. Body roll is very nice to have. Sway bar could help mitigate that, but the body roll is actually a little bit too much. I wish they'd gone a slightly larger diameter on the coils so that the rear suspension was a bit firmer, so that I didn't have to preload that all the way down, because now I've got no more adjustment. Heavier springs in the rear would be great. The front ones are good. Leave them. If you can find heavier springs, which are on AliExpress and elsewhere, Rlaarlo may sell them, although I didn't see them in their replacement parts manual. That'd be nice to have. Gosh, it moves well. It's just such a nice mover. Just stunning. Absolutely stunning. This is without a doubt one of the most beautiful crawlers I own. You could drive it hard, and I believe it'll take it. It feels very much like the large-scale cross RCs I have, well constructed, but I don't want to drive it hard. There we go. That little bumper works beautifully well. Now this is the first weakness of a long wheelbase we've seen on this little drive, and that is it's going to have some trouble with breakover, or no, there we go, we got it on just the right angle, and up she comes. We're still unlocked, I'll add. Isn't it stunning? Just stunning. Little details like this indicator that flashes out in a line, having power in the mirrors. Every single light bucket is populated out of the box. The servo has been overwhelmed already a few times, I've noticed. Another little bug is that the steering angle that I get out of this front axle is not amazing. But as a scale driver, I'm not too fussed. If I was trying to run this in some kind of competition, that would be more of an issue. But it really isn't. It's just wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful car to drive. You'll be able to take this out with the SCX6s if you've got friends with bigger scale stuff again. And knowing Rlaarlo, they probably have got the scale right. Okay, so that's my very best right turn. Can we get any more out of the dual rate? A tiny, tiny bit. Not a lot. Another thing I noticed is the top of my servo had a bit of rubber sticking out. I pulled it off before I took the photo. I regret doing that, but the cap's kind of bent, so I don't think my servo's been assembled quite properly. That's not Rlaarlo's fault. That's whichever company made the servo. The servo still has power, plenty of it. But right then, it couldn't overwhelm, it was getting overwhelmed. It couldn't overcome the terrain. So it's not without its imperfections, this car, but they're few and far between, I can tell you that. Oh, it is a joy to drive. Now that we've got our initial footage, I can be a little bit more risky in what we're trying. I'll remind you that we're still unlocked here. And I prefer unlocked because you get more maneuverability out of the car. Once you lock those axles, you're actually fighting with yourself because the wheel on the outside of any arc will be asking to cover more ground than the wheel on the inside of any arc, and they're both spinning at the same speed, so that can't happen. And differential speeds are required, hence the name differential. So lock when you need it, keep them unlocked when you don't, and you'll have the smoothest driving experience. They're very firm foams, but it's a very heavy truck. I think the rear springs could be a little bit firmer. I've already dialed up the preload as much as I dare. I don't think I'd want to go any further, but I wouldn't mind being able to slacken that off and just stick softer springs on, because I think this car really needs it. Oh, not really needs it, but it'd certainly decrease the body roll. That's short of getting sway bars, which would also help, I think. And if you're looking to take photos with a car like this, oh, this car will deliver in spades. So, we're crawling. This car is also actually going to be good for trailing. Snookered myself there. There we go. There we go. Now we're good. Now the back's going to drag down the rock a little, but the departure angle is actually still pretty good. And I have no concerns so far about getting this thing to go anywhere I want it to go. Another opportunity for that front to do its thing. It just drags the nose around a little bit. Yes, it's not particularly scale, but it also works. I'll also add that we've been doing this all on 4S, which is wonderful. So we still have low speed control on 4S. I've got that massive 7 amp battery in there, and it's doing its job absolutely fine. Like, I actually thought this would be a 3S choice and an easy 3S choice to that, but honestly and truly, 4S is where it's at, because I still got the punch when I want it, and I've got the low speed control thanks to the FOC when I don't. Okay, so the servo's already being overwhelmed here. So a stronger servo would let me actually steer. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's trying. And I'm a little concerned about the, I'm just in front wheel drive now. I'm a little concerned about the, see how I can pull the front around? I'm concerned that that back of the servo wasn't actually pressed in properly. It looks like a manufacturing issue. This isn't Rlaarlo's fault. it's their partner, whoever made the servo. And look, these things happen, whether it's their flagship model and they've only sent out 5 of these, or whether it's one of the 10,000 of something else. You do get breakages and you do get things at the factory. The good news is, if you have any trouble like that, you can generally just talk to your place of purchase and they'll sort you out. I'm back in front wheel drive again, and I'm quite happy to be wrong about that front wheel drive. I poo-pooed it as being useless. It really isn't. It's been more useful than I thought it would be, especially for something this big and heavy. Now, if you ignore the fact that this is a beautiful scale model and you decide to actually take it properly crawling and asking a bit of it, you are going to find the servo is not quite up to the job. And also, with the mass of the car, what I just did then could well have broken something, because we've got 11 kilograms here we're pushing through with a ginormous brushless motor that's not going to take no for an answer. So I haven't actually looked at this on the bench. I've actually taken this out of the box and brought it here to drive first. So we'll get it on the bench shortly, but I don't know if there's a slipper in here. It doesn't feel like there's one. And when it was stuck in that little crevice before and I just pulsed the throttle just to give it some, it did exactly what I asked without any kind of slip. And that is how you break stuff. Doesn't matter how much money you've spent on it. Everything has a mechanical limit. But I'll tell you what, sure is pretty. Silly. So I've just pulled out the 7,000 milliamp hour 4S and we're sticking in, if you can believe it, a 10 amp. That's 10,000 milliamp hour 3S. And this thing fits, but only just. But it fits. Perfect. Now, I've had 2 things lost and 2 things broken. This is the other minor thing, and they're both body related. The things I lost are these little springs that pop out from underneath when you flip the cover up and roll out the awning. Without them, the thing will just flap around open. So I had to use just a Velcro strip that I can pull off any time to hold the thing shut, and that works. It works better than the clips actually, but the clips were cooler. Rlaarlo sells a pack of 4 clips for not much money, so they're available now. This thing holds shut with a pressed plastic down, and it's got the furniture inside it as well. If you're careful, you can line it up and it shuts. No problem there. But the other breakage I'm having is with these rear towing hitches. They're metal, but that one's already... Oh, you know what? No, they're plastic. They're both snapped anyway. They are. They're plastic. That would explain it. These should have been metal. If they're going to be rigid and they're going to poke out past the end of the bumper, they're going to break. So I wish that they were metal or that they were on a hinge or something, because they're busted. I will install something else in there. I don't like that. It's actually the only thing I don't like about this car. Everything else, every single thing else about this car is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I currently don't know about pricing. I'm going to put that in the description. I might put a pop-up here next to me if I have that information. I'm filming this last little bit of this video on a Tuesday, and the thing gets released on Friday of the same week. So I'll put in whatever information I have in the description, so look down there if you're interested in buying this. The motor is an absolute behemoth. It's the same one as what was in the MK07, being a 4282. 4282. That's enormous. If you don't know electronic stuff with RC cars, that's bigger than some of the big, speedy, beefy motors I use in high-speed stuff. Like, I've got a... What do we got here? I think it was this guy. Yeah, it's this guy. This is another Rlaarlo. This is a beautiful car, the JK07. I've got 3 of them. It's currently in pieces. But this is my high-speed carbon fiber one with a Max 5 ESC on it. It has a 4274 motor. This motor is geared, like with crazy big gearing, to get this thing going crazy, crazy fast, like Autobahn fast. It's an amazing motor. This is bigger. It's a 2200 kV, and I think this one's even lower kV than that. Look, for a car this big, they've absolutely nailed it. They've nailed it. Well done, Rlaarlo. 2200 kV on a motor that long. That beefy. It's got torque for days. I ran it on 4S, and I did not run out of power. I'm going to recommend 2 batteries for this car. They're both from Z. One's a 4S and one's a 3S. The 3S one just barely fits that I'm going to recommend, but mark my words, on the brushless version, you'll get a couple of hours of runtime out of it, and you'll be happy. Top speed on 4S is 29k an hour. The box says 26, so that's nice. Top speed on 3S, I can't remember, but I'll put it on screen here. I'd suggest that 4S or 3S is fine. The less S's your battery, the longer your runtime. Don't try this on 2S, it's better on 3S. Particularly when, if you're doing heavier crawling, you'll find that the 45 kilo servo isn't quite up to the job, as I said in my videos. Get like a 70 kilo servo in there, something that's direct volt from 3S or 12 volt, and you'll not run out of torque. That would be my suggestion. I did mention that I'd been having trouble making this video. I've spent hours this morning, it's now this afternoon, trying to get this thing going. It came with a manual, and I've misplaced it while I was trying to fix my DJI mic that went through the washing machine. It also came with 2 paint markers. There's an orange and a black one, and it came with an interesting little disc thing. I wanted to talk about that. I don't know what it does, but I can't find the manual. I put it down this morning and I cannot for the life of me find it. Sorry, Rlaarlo, I'll make sure the photos of that are in my article, but for the video, I don't know where it is. Anyway. This is actually quite tight, and I'm trying to widen the curve as much as possible. This thing's side hills unbelievably well. There's a lot of mass up there. And in that rooftop camper on the back, it's not actually empty. It's got a functional camper in it, plus a bunch of furniture that came with the car that I assembled last night. There we go. Wow. Oh, this thing's stunning. It's just stunning. This video is brought to you by my channel members. Here they are next to me. I'm so hot. Thank you to my channel members who are partly responsible for this video. They chip in a few bob each month and it just keeps me going. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. You can find out more about joining the channel down below somewhere. But thank you to all of you who are watching this. Just having you guys around so I can talk trucks, what a privilege. This is a wonderful car. I didn't pay for it. But if I didn't pay for it and I didn't get given it, I would pay for it and I would buy it. Anyone who's watched me long enough will know that I'm very much big on honesty. I value that first over anything else. And like I've done with various other Rlaarlo cars, I mean, even the AK917, I showed all the problems I had with that thing. There was a factory assembly issue that got fixed, but I showed all the issues first. And I criticized them fairly heavily in my video for the, whatever that thing is, the X14 or whatever it is. That's a fun car, that, but they ripped off the laser nut and I wasn't happy about that. So I made it clear. I'm always going to tell you the truth. I need to be able to sleep at night. And this is not a gravy train. I can tell you this. If you're watching this and wondering, well, yeah, he says that, but he's still getting free stuff. Yeah, but it's not free. This has been hours and hours of work. The editing that goes into this video is about 12 hours, I think. And I've had a trip out to the gorge with it, and I'm standing in a hot, insulated but hot container right now talking to you. I would sooner pay for it if I didn't want to do this, because I don't like having to work. I want to go and play. This is one of my very favorite cars, and it's also one of the very few cars that after running it, I've carefully taken apart and cleaned thoroughly. And it wasn't just for this video. I'd be happy to show you a muddy car, but I wanted it cleaned because it's gorgeous. I want to enjoy the thing. And this is not a hardcore crawler. It's not even a hardcore trailer. I mean, give it the length of this wheelbase, you're going to get hung up on stuff. No bent links or anything, but it's gorgeous in scale. And to me, getting around in two-wheel drive unlocked, and then just slowly escalating your capability with four-wheel drive and then lockers. Oh, perfect, perfect. That's my idea of a Sunday morning well spent, you know? Like, just perfect. And then you can delight people that are watching with just a single button press and the wipers go. It's so good. Thank you, Rlaarlo, for sending this car to me and entrusting me with your flagship model. One of 5, and you've chosen RC-TNT. Thank you. I very much appreciate it. I hope this video is to your satisfaction. And to my audience, know that Rlaarlo has asked nothing of me. They don't ask to see this video first. They don't even ask that it's positive. I've dealt with other manufacturers and I've even turned some down. I've turned down a bunch of free cars from some of the big manufacturers because they said, we don't want you to have anything negative in the thumbnail. We need to have the car looking good in the thumbnail, and we need you to list this, and this feature. Make sure that that happens in the video. And from a marketing point of view, that's fair enough. Any car that you send out to an influencer like me is a risk, but it's also a pretty cheap investment given how far your advertising dollar goes. I basically am trying to say, integrity matters to me. I want you guys to feel comfortable with what you're getting from me. And if I'm making stuff up so that to try and sell things, to try and get commission, that will work once, maybe twice. And then you'll know that I'm full of it. I don't want that. I want to be legit. This car is legitimately great. It's one of my very favorite cars. It's probably going to get a lot more wheel time than almost anything else for a while. I'm a novelty engine. I seek novelty and I love it. A lot of you guys do too. But I mean, it's just stunning. And it's also not that heavy, which is really good. I wouldn't even suggest adding mass to it, although you probably could underneath. In fact, I will say that this looks similar to the Yukon front end. It's universals on those axles. I wonder. They're very similar. Also to the MJX-H8H, which I'm going to look at very soon. That's interesting. Yeah, the only thing I'm really going to change on this is the servo. It's underwhelming for my kind of driving, but it may not be for your kind of driving. So there it is. Read more detail with photos on my website, RC-TNT.com. You'll find that below in the description, along with every other car. Be aware the XL2 from Cross RC, the Emo XL2 is coming soon. That's going to be an interesting one. And I actually have a bunch of other crawling stuff that I just can't wait to show you. It's all coming here on RC-TNT. Subscribe if you haven't. That tells the manufacturers, hey, I'm here and I'm growing. I'd love to show you guys more in my own particular style. Let's do that. Doesn't that sound good? I'm sweating away because it's so hot in here. Anyway, thanks for watching. Throw me a like and I'll catch you next time on RC-TNT.